Hey, one and all, it's your pal Drew, and I'm back with comics for my spinner rack. I'm a 30-year plus comic book industry veteran, known mostly as an inker, and I've been a fanboy much longer than that. So I like to pull out some of my favorite comics, put them in the spinner rack, get them out of the spinner rack, and buy new books to find a home in the spinner rack. Well, Micronauts, the first year, Michael Golden, just spectacular. And the second year was so awful. It was only Bill Mantlow's writing and Mike Golden's covers that had me keep buying this series, because Howard Chaykin, I was like, oh my gosh, Howard Chaykin's great, but he did the loosest of pencils, and Al Milgrom just crapped out. It was so awful, and I'm sorry. Milgram's done some strong stuff in the past, but it was clear that he just didn't care to really render anything. Or he could draw, but then there was some pages where there's just no, I know I can be hard on Milgram, but he's done some shitty stuff. I've done shitty stuff that people call out, but for a year over a man Howard Chaykin, it was basically a lost year. It was just remember the stories and not the art. But then Pat Broderick came along. He was doing Captain Marvel, the Kree captain, for until the book wrapped up. Captain Marvel sales, they were always kind of dodgy. It was a bi-monthly book, and so onto Micronauts, and I was thrilled. This is the first issue, I think, that came out with Pat Broderick, inked by Armando Gil, who's excellent. He also inks Michael Golden. It's just a perfect pairing, and that's the thing I love about the Micronauts. They would do that old, I guess it was like the old DC thing, where they'd have the heads of the characters, little cameo images, and I love that. I love that. And here we go, back to a huge quality leap. I like that. That's probably Zipatone there, or no, maybe somebody made a darker green on Bug upside down. And Bug's a great design. And he's someone who was designed by Michael Golden. And he was supposed to be Galactic Warrior, but Galactic Warrior in the toy line looks pretty much like Space Commander and the others. So Golden created Bug. And wow, I was just so happy, because I still liked reading the Micronauts for Bill Mantlo, because I was reading pretty much everything he did. And man, that second year was just such a drag. But book came back with a vengeance. And just as Rom came along, kicked ass. And that was mostly Bill Mantlo, but Sal Buscema spent 5 years on the book, and kept that going. And Bug gets messed up by this guy who has he deals with insects, he deals with plants. He basically hits Bug with something that's related to, I don't know if it's DDT or what, but man, that is freaky. Oh my gosh. I love it. And then here comes Ant-Man. Wow, how about that? Exciting stuff, huh? Enter Ant-Man. Then we go to Mark Baudet's Miami Vice comic number 2. This was on the heels of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Adolescent Black Belt Hamsters, etc. And Mark Baudet is actually the son of Vaughn Baudet, who did Cheech Wizard, which is a real, I would say, acquired taste. It's not my thing. It doesn't do a thing for me, but it was way back when it came out. It was, I guess, groundbreaking. So I never picked these up because they just looked like they were thrown together. But now that I've seen Vaughn Baudet's stuff, and I can sort of see how this comes out the same way, just in more of a long form comic book. So another parody of Miami Vice, of course, a big hit show on TV. And I never really watched that too. It was a little too yuppie for my taste. But this is a fun comic. It's you know, it's funny. That's all I can say. It's fun. This is even more fun. Charles Vest painted cover on Web of Spider-Man Annual. Now, the first couple years of Spider-Man really sucked ass to a crazy straw. I mean, it was awful. I had completed my collection of those issues, and I just donated the first couple years to the library because it was just real low quality. And it's like they had Marvel Team Up, which was fairly low quality, but at least you got an extra superhero if you might find that you like. So, cranky me. Well, you got Anna Senti as the writer. She was a former editor. She was actually a secretary back when they were called secretaries. And she became an assistant editor, then editor for the X-Men office, which was really taking off. Arthur Adams is the penciler and inker. L. Lois Buhalis is either the girlfriend or the wife or just a friend of Tom Warzakowski, and she learned all his tricks. George Rousse's classic guy from way back when on colors. Jim Owsley, Jim Shooter, who we just lost, editor-in-chief. And I would say the first half of the 80s, he really did some amazing things, bringing in new artists and more just innovative things. Now, this is, if it looks weird, like really garish, it's because Marvel switched, they switched the printer they use, switched plates from metal prints to plastic prints, and you know, at first they were kind of ballyhooed as, ooh, look, much more color, but it ends up being kind of, you know, you still get shit like that pink stuff there that wasn't intentional. But yeah, it's Arthur Adams doing, I mean, he was doing long shot, and he was really, really fast, but later on, you know, he slowed down, but that's because he really was, he continued to improve his craft. You know, it wasn't that he was being sluggish. He's just someone who's like, hey, I'm learning more and more with each issue. That's great. That's a great angle. Because I mean, like, you know, if you're an okay artist, you could, that's amazing perspective. If you're just an okay artist, you can kind of slide on that for a while, but if you really want to be notable, you have to expand. Like when Michael Golden took over the NOM, he did the first 5-6 issues maybe, and that's a Ditko swipe, but that's not a bad thing because it's on the black costume, and Arthur Adams doesn't have any other thing like that. He just felt like doing a Ditko panel, and that's just wonderful. Let's see. His love for the classic monsters shows up in the. I wonder if he must have talked to Anna Senti about that. Like, I want to draw Godzilla. So it's terrific stuff. It's basically that warlock character that's like a techno mutant becoming. Such great stuff. But anyway, what I was going to say is, like, Michael Golden, when he did the NOM, he went to a real cartoony style that I strongly disliked. But years later, when I got in the biz, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest. Here is Mike Mignola, a young Mike Mignola with Jeff Isherwood, who was another great artist. So yeah, really, really good stuff. Cheap to cheap. So now we go to Phase 1 Fazers. This is 1986, and if it looks like John Byrne, it's not, but it's a guy who basically, his name was Vic Bridges. He's still around. It's just, he basically copied the Byrne style as a template, you know, and that's not a bad thing, you know, and I mean, he wasn't doing the exact same things that Byrne did, but his faces and his figures borrowed a lot. Now, when I first saw this cover, I had to have it right away because I love like the red and that drawing, that character reminds me so much of Rachel Summers when she was Phoenix for a while and she had like the red leather spiky outfit. I loved that, but they got rid of it and they changed all this stuff. And what's weird is I thought he was Coil Man, or she was Coil Man because she has bubbles. Back in the 60s, it was a cartoon called the Magnificent Trio or something like that. It was like three superheroes. One was, Liquid Man, Coil Man, and Multi Man. And that's reminds me. It turns out she is every one of those bands. She could segment her arm off, and when she does, like she took her top off. Listen to me. It's like bubbles, energy bubbles, sort of pop out. And this was only a 4-issue miniseries, and Vic only got to draw and plot the first 3 issues, inked by Bill Black. No. Yeah. Hold on a second. Hang in there, everybody. Let's see. Letters, colors, whatever. And the colors are nice on this, too. And it's not on that graph plastic stuff. The paper got a little wonky though. It almost looks like purple flowers. So like there's a definite burn face there on the lady in the foreground. And you know what though, I found the story kind of dull. I want to like it. It's just there's a lot of this, and if I don't know these characters and they have cool powers and they're dressed for it. By God, do more of that kind of stuff, you know? I mean, we know you can write a story, but, remember there's action. So this guy, he's like Iceman, sort of. And she pops out this cube. Odd stuff happens. But what happened is in the final issue, it was only co-plotted by Vic. Now, Vic went on to do Freak Force for Eric Larson's image book, Freak Force, that he wrote, and it lasted about 12 issues or so. In issue 11, I did part of the front cover, and I got my first credit in the comic. It was pretty wild. Like the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. This is I don't know what this is for. I guess it's Femforce number 5. Yeah, it's by Bill Black and inked by Bill Anderson. Now this is by Vic Bridges and Ralph Cabrera. It's not that good. I think he probably did this before he did the story in the front, because this is self-contained. So yeah, so it's just not. But you have that's a definite John Byrne panel there. So, but yeah, he got really good on Freak Force, and then I don't know why. I don't know where he went after that, but the final book for my spinner rack that I just got, I had this way back when. I sold my collection in the late 80s. Long story. So this was fun because it reminded me of like the issue 26 or 7 of the original Avengers issues where they fought Atuma. That was really when I got the first Avengers book I ever had them fighting Atuma under the waves, and this reminds me a lot of that. And they're starting Alpha Flight. There was an Alpha Flight issue prior to this that connected, and I reviewed it in one of my previous episodes, but there's too many episodes to go back and find. So we got the classic lineup: Roger Stern, John Buscema, Tom Palmer. Not my, there are issues that are my favorites. Like this is coming up with my favorites, like the 270s, but before and after really leaves me kind of dry. But that, hey, we all got a different opinion. So, but it's great seeing John Buscema do this stuff. Of course, that Atuma guy, I tell you, he's not for trouble. Here we go. If you got a super team, like the Fazers, you got a whole super team, not just a superhero. Somebody should be raising some hell. Somebody should be clobbering, doing some clobbering. So cool, so cool. And Submariner was actually an Avenger at this point. He joined for a while, and what's interesting though is that he had the sense to do so because this came out in '86, Marvel's 25th anniversary. But in 1990, I think, John Byrne did a Namor regular series that I enjoyed a lot, and he said he established, like in the first issue, that Namor's irrationality over the years was caused by some kind of infection or imbalance that was because he was of the land and the sea, and this one doctor figured out how to fix it, and then Namor was perfectly normal. He wasn't such a hothead. He was more of a he could get pissed off and stuff, but he wasn't just like, let's invade the surface world again. So I just don't know how that worked out. But and it's interesting because John Byrne and Roger Stern, with Bob Layton, they started their fanzines back in 1975, and it's just weird to see how those three players like moved around and worked together. Sometimes they didn't work together, and it's not like I've had it before where I'd be working with somebody and then I would get hired to do another book while I'm waiting, and I might take it, but also pencilers, more often than not, pencilers would get called, and the editor from this other bunch of books may have their inkers already lined up, so there's no room for me and I have to go elsewhere. So that's what I did. So, but in a way it's good because I got to ink pretty much everybody. So I hate that costume that John Byrne gave him. Bring back, or at least use the Bob Layton design that he did in the future stories. And there's Box. I love that Box character. He's gotta be a bitch to draw. And there is Marion, who John Byrne created in Alpha Flight, and she's actually not even a humanoid. She's just this really weird monster type. And Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, second Marvel character to have that name, who I liked, and I think she should have stayed that way, but whatever. So it's a bit of a tragedy. It's like they were romantic and then it just wasn't possible anymore. She says, when he first joined us, I wonder if Namor could be trusted. Just today I doubted his motives. Have I finally seen the true Submariner now that it may be too late? And when will I ever see him again? So, and I don't think she means romantically. Actually, she said when we will see him again. So that's it. That's my comical books, and some of them I picked up recently. And let me know what you think. Is this your favorite era? I know somebody had commented before that this was their favorite era, the Stern, Buscema Palma era. And what do you think of some of these indies, like the Phase 1 Fazers and Miami Mice, which I got for $1, or I may not have gotten it. And how about Micronauts, the third year, and Michael Golden continued doing covers for like the first 20-some issues, and early Art Adams. Oh, there's David Letterman, I think. Yeah. So that's all. Let me know what you think, and do you have any of these? Did you have them? Did you hate them? Did you, follow any of the publishers like Ripoff Press or AC Comics? Just tell me what you like. And, there's no wrong answers, as I say, or wrong comments. I delete no comments. And I just wanted to thank you for watching, because there are so many thousands upon thousands of shows that you could be watching. And the fact that you took 20 minutes out of your day to watch mine and listen to me go on with my geekdom, and me go on and on and on, that means a lot. I appreciate that, because we're all here for comics, and this is kind of therapeutic for me. I get to talk, because conventions haven't been that great lately, but even with conventions in the future, I'll still be doing this channel. And you take care, everybody. Bye.